I feel like our society is so turned around, flipped upside down and backwards about what it means to be able to live a life full of fulfillment. 41 million Americans on EBT, on food stamps, on government assistance to be able to put food on their tables. I'd never have heard that number before, and it's astounding to me. Back in 1834 was when the New Poor Law was put into effect, and that was the very first formal legal right for government assistance for food, like the legal right to assistance. Andrew Jackson was president at the time, and there was a disabled versus able-bodied distinction. So people who were disabled, who were physically unable to work, would qualify for this. And then there would be able-bodied people that would qualify on a short-term basis so that they could collect this government assistance, maybe because they're between jobs, maybe because of, we have short-term disability now, whatever the reason may be. You could do it for a short period of time, and then the assistance is removed. About 5 years ago, in 2020, I did a video during COVID about government assistance. How should governments govern? I definitely believe that a government should not be completely uninvolved. The catechism even states, I was looking in the catechism all around these paragraphs, around paragraph 1900, where the purpose of the government is to ensure the common good. And the common good means the good of all people, the fulfillment, making sure people can have fulfillment and purpose in their lives. When you are relying on the government to give you these things, and there's no there's nothing trying to urge you to get back on your feet to say, hey, this is going to be, a short-term solution for you so that we can help you, so that you can achieve all that you're capable of achieving. The government's just saying, oh yeah, no, you can't do it. Oh, you're not capable. I'm going to give you this money. It's not the case for everyone. There's a distinction, disabled versus able-bodied. I'm talking about the able-bodied people here. When I was talking about COVID in my video 5 years ago, I talked about how some people were making more money by staying home than going to work. There was a higher level of motivation to not work during COVID because they could make more money through government assistance instead of going back to work. I thought this was backwards. I thought it was wrong. I thought that it was problematic. And so when Bill Donahue here in War on Virtue is talking about the war on the poor, about how the government has caused people who are perfectly able-bodied to think that they need government assistance. Right now, it's a terrible, tragic thing that EBT is being stripped from 41 million families. I do not believe that 41 million families should be on EBT, but nevertheless, there should not be a direct and abrupt cancellation of those policies that have been promised to them. Because honestly, I do believe that able-bodied people that have been put on SNAP benefits or EBT, people who are there, they have utilized those funds into their cost of living, into their standard of living, is what I mean. Their standard of living. So maybe you said, oh, well, in our income, we have EBT benefits. I'm not going to be earning over that, whatever it is, $60,000 mark, whatever the cutoff is for that assistance. I'm not going to be earning that. But so we will always have this. So we can actually afford a mortgage that's going to be X amount, which maybe is $200 more a month than you would have gotten if you weren't getting those SNAP benefits, right? You include that in your standard of living. And that's not good, because then you're causing yourself to be reliant on the government, which is not good, because they can do what they're doing right now. They can take it away in the drop of a hat. It's not right, but they can, because that's the type of authority that the government has. And it's not a handout. Like, it's paid for by taxpayers. The whole thing is so backwards. So Bill Donahue, he wrote this chapter. We're going through War on Virtue. Hi, I'm Allie Marie here. If you haven't been here before, you can subscribe. We're doing War on Virtue right now. We're just discussing all the things, how the ruling class is killing the American dream. Right now, we're just talking about fulfillment. How can we reach fulfillment from a Catholic perspective? And I would say I disagreed with quite a bit of Bill's approach in this chapter, because he he likes to talk a lot about statistics. He wants to analyze exactly what's happening, which can be a great thing, right? He's a man. I'm going to give him that. He's looking at this from a very logical, here's what the research says. Here's what this professor says. Here's what that person says. Here's this psychologist that studied that. Here's this comparison and that statistic. But guess what? People are more than statistics, all right? This whole book, honestly, everything's been about statistics. He's like, well, here's this research study and here's this research study. It's like, Mr. Bill, how many people have you actually sat down and talked with about their struggles? How many people have you gone on a walk with that are underprivileged? How many people have you actually physically shown up for in your life? Because sure, you can write a book. Sure, you can study the study. Sure, you can listen to that talk that this, well-to-do professor gave at Yale, and you can show your outrage about it, about how they're teaching these students here. But how many conversations have you had? Have you actually gone down and gotten to know somebody beyond whatever statistic you're seeing them in? That was a lot of what I got from his thing. And eventually near the end of the chapter, because maybe 3 pages in, I make a note about St. Mother Teresa. And she had her journal of suffering, and this poverty of spirit versus physical poverty is something I'm thinking about while I'm reading it as he's going through all these different statistics and research studies. But later on, he referenced her. It was right near the end of the chapter, and he says, she was talking about being able to help the poor with all this money and do this and do that. And St. Mother Teresa had responded, but do you have love? Because love, why am I going to get emotional? Love is what negates poverty of spirit. And poverty of spirit is the true crisis that we are facing in America right now. We are facing poverty of spirit. We are a first world country. We have so much available to us. Our septic systems work. We have clean water to drink in the majority of places. And if you don't, your government is abusing money that's coming into them. Every individual in America right now should have access to clean water and proper septic and everything in that regard that makes us our first world country. That should be first and foremost in anything. But when I look at all of these notes that I took, he's consistently comparing this racial structure to that racial structure and this culture to that culture. And here's this and here's that. I thought about Meg Hunter Kilmer and their book, The Saints Around the World, how she went, because her book, I don't have it right here with me, it's in the homeschool room, but she went around and she interviewed people because she had all the saints from all around the world, from the tiny little places in a Southeast Asian country to African saints to South American, to all over. And she wanted to be so sure with her illustrator that they were correctly identifying the cultures and descriptors and make it so authentic to that culture. She had the conversation. She didn't just look it up online. She didn't just find a talk to listen to. She went and she found the person and she said, hey, you have a personal connection to this culture. Help me make sure that I'm understanding it properly. Not a single conversation that I've seen in Bill's book has referenced an individual conversation that he's had. Every single one has been an outside looking in at a statistic or research study. And I don't think that that's the way to go about fixing a problem. Even then, as I was looking back at my thumbnails in regard to this book, they do this and they do that. They're sowing seeds of division. Guess what happens when I say they? It sows division. I had said in, I think, a private conversation with one of my patrons, we meet on Thursday nights, the first Thursday of every month, we have a little group call. And I was saying how maybe I should read these books first, because this is the first time I've read through War and Virtue. Knights of Columbus gave it to me. I was like, oh, this looks like a great study. So maybe I should read these books first and then go back through them and talk about them week by week, chapter by chapter, because I maybe would have a better understanding of maybe where they're going with the book, right? I maybe be able to see how chapter 1 ties into chapter 7 and why chapter 7 makes chapter 1 make sense, and try to help it be a little more fluid, because not everyone has the best book editors, and maybe something's just kind of out of order. It's not making sense. But with this particular book, I'm seeing a lot of that. That said, I think that government welfare has completely overstepped, and the government has become over-involved. I think they need to be involved, but I think that they've become over-involved. I think since COVID, with all of those stimulus packages, with the amount of reliance that that happened, the number of businesses that shut down, the small mom and pop shops, I think about certain restaurants that we loved going to regularly, we weren't allowed to go to. The level of what happened. In 1996, you had welfare limits. I believe in you is met with how dare you. I put a note about COVID here again. We qualified for government assistance in 2021, and I remember saying to my husband, I said, we don't need this, and I feel so weird that we're receiving it, because my husband was able to work all through COVID. His job was deemed essential work or whatever, but we accepted it anyway, and we just said, okay, well, if they're giving it to us, let's just put it in savings, let's do this, let's do that. But there wasn't an option to reject it, but B, the qualifiers weren't even good. But when you talk about, I don't even know what this note means when I put 1996, welfare limits. I believe in you is met with how dare you. I don't know. This whole thing recently of EBT being cut off, I do remember that I really disagreed with the prior outrage when they were talking about removing soda and sweets and all of anything that's not actually healthy food off of EBT. And a bunch of people were very upset about it and kind of acting out against it, saying that they had a right to that. And when I think about that, I think about a toddler. It's like, you're allowed to be upset. You can be like, oh man, I'm really disappointed that that's being taken away from me. But no, you don't have a right to soda. I had seen a TikTok of somebody walking out of Costco, and they said, oh my gosh, I only got the essentials and it was $95. How are any of us supposed to live like this? And in their cart was, whatever size pack of Alani News, the energy drinks. And I remember just looking at, I was one of the ones that left a comment that said, energy drinks are not a need. This idea of want versus need has been severely corrupted in the minds of many. And unfortunately, I think a lot of these people are unable to teach their children what a want versus a need is. Because right now, lots of wants are being treated as needs. And that does a significant disservice to all of society, to every interaction, really. You suddenly get entitlement. And entitlement is not something that would be from God. We're not entitled to heaven. We're not entitled to forgiveness. We're not entitled to grace. And it's a great gift, though. I love accepting it. I love using it every chance I get. I love that God has offered that. There has been a lot of discussion. I've heard a lot over the years about what would happen if everything was wiped clean. All the millionaires lost all their money, all of the poor people didn't have any more debt, blah, 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 whatever. Everyone gets back on an even playing field. And then you go and you say, all right, make it happen. The hypothesis of a social experiment like that is that the millionaires that were no longer millionaires would become millionaires again, and the people who were in poverty, in debt, would become in poverty and in debt again. When we looked at lottery winners, right? Someone who wins the lottery, there is a huge gap in the reporting of this, but anywhere between 30 and 70% file for bankruptcy within a few years. So this concept of, I have this influx of money and then spending it unwisely. That could be buying a house that's too expensive because, wow, I have all this money. I can buy the 6,000 square foot house in cash. But then suddenly the energy bills and the property taxes and everything else that goes along with this house, the wall is cracking or this is happening, whatever was going on with the house, suddenly, I can't afford this house. Oh no, it's like piling up really fast. I can't afford this standard of living because I had a single influx of cash. And now what do? Oh no, I won $2 million and I have to pay $200,000 in taxes. I didn't set that aside. Filing for bankruptcy. Money is not the solution. More money. The government throwing out more stimulus packages. This is not the solution. The solution is finding your vocation and pursuing it. The solution is getting up off your butt and doing the work. Not everyone can do that. There are going to be exceptions. There's a difference from the beginning. Formal legal right to assistance, disabled versus able-bodied. If you are able-bodied, you got to put your phone down. You got to decide that you're going to be dedicated. The thing that Bill harps on in this book is personal responsibility. What are they? I've said them only 20 million times. Personal responsibility, perseverance, and something else. I'm thinking too much about St. Benedict because I was reading his St. Benedict for Busy Parents. It's a little pamphlet. And his 3 basic pursuits were prayer, work, and study. So I'm focused on those 2 things. I'm seeing these 3 things everywhere, right? I actually didn't know how aligned with St. Benedict I was. And I also didn't know that St. Benedict was a twin. They're boy-girl twins with Saint Scholastica, and I have boy-girl twins, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I can ask them to pray for my kids. But Saint Benedict, this mind, body, spirit thing, every day you should be pursuing prayer, work, and study. Those are the 3 things, right? So you have prayer for your spirit, you have work for your body, and you have study for your mind. You want to be pursuing those things. And as I see them, he talks about these as our personal trinities, our lesser trinities, which is exactly what I say. The image of God in us, as the mind is a reflection of the Father, the body is a reflection of the Son, and our spirit or personality is a reflection of the Holy Spirit. The smaller trinities. And so when we talk about wanting stability and conversion of life, it says the essential Benedictine commitment is to stability, obedience, and conversion of life. And this idea of 3 basic virtues. I wish I could even you would think that I'd have them memorized by now. His 3 little things. It's personal responsibility. If I talk slow enough, self-discipline and perseverance is self-discipline. Personal responsibility and self-discipline, I feel, are pretty synonymous. So I don't even know if those are the 3 that I would look at. I like prayer, work, and study, honestly. I understand what he means about personal responsibility because we definitely have a really huge victim mindset. I mean, even just with this EBT thing, it's like everybody feels, how I'm seeing it, everybody feels like they are a personal victim of the EBT distributions being revoked. That they are a victim of that, of it being revoked, of it being taken away. Like they're a victim of that. But what's not seen is that you're actually a victim of something much larger, which is this government that isn't actually trying to help you improve your life. They're just trying to put a little Band-Aid on it, right? You're like, no, I have other issues going on. I need a different type of help. And they're just like, oh, let me give you this Band-Aid. Let me just give you this. Let me give you that. And so when you have that, it's so much greater than just this temporary pause, which, by the way, Christian organizations have been there from day one. I think you have the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission, you have Loaves and Fishes, you have St. Vincent de Paul, you have so many major, the Gospel Mission in general, so many major Christian organizations, right? Catholics are who developed hospitals. And you have, that's like the biggest thing about the government taking over is that it's not left to the people. We should be left to take care of each other. It's not the government's responsibility. It's my responsibility to take care of you. It's our responsibility to say, hey, we have some extra money. Why don't we go to Aldi and buy a bunch of food for the food pantry? Because clearly they're going to have an influx of people coming looking for food. We look to our neighbor. That's what makes us a community. Stop looking to the government. If you know that your neighbor has some sugar, go ask to borrow some sugar. There's so much lacking in the familial aspect of what it means to be a nation. That the togetherness and camaraderie of what it means to be a citizen of the United States of America suddenly is just divided. Because you don't believe this and I believe that. Even if I love you, even if I'm willing, I don't care if you're gay. I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that you are not experiencing anxiety on a daily basis. I will show up in whatever way that you need. Like, I don't care. I love you as a person. Do I disagree with that? Sure. If you want to know why I disagree with that, sure, we can talk about it. Or I can just hear your story. I'll probably have something to say because I do believe that different things are important to God. But that's not going to stop me from caring about you. That's not going to stop me from showing up. And that's what it's all about when you talk about living in community. That's what it means to be a citizen of the United States. Show up. Help people reach their fulfillment. Help people reach their vocation. Help people find their vocation. Gosh, what's brought them to today? Ask them the questions. Like I have them written down here. The need of vital virtues. Personal responsibility, self-discipline, perseverance. But I really like that prayer work and study because I think for me, being a homeschool mom that really likes a pretty loose, flexible schedule instead of we're doing this at this time, this and this time. If I can just think about those three things, like, okay, did we pray today? You know, what are our cornerstones in prayer? Did we study today? And did we work today? If I can just think of my days as having those three things to check off, if that's my to-do list every day, pray, study, and work, I can do that. I can for sure make sure that we do each of those things. Now, you try to tell me that I have to do 20 minutes of geography here and 30 minutes of math there and read 10 books or whatever with like a checklist for all that stuff. I don't do well with it. But if I don't have a list, I do it great, right? It's just like, oh yeah, hey, this sounds nice. Let's do this. Or maybe this day we work on that. Finding what works, finding what brings you into fulfillment, and having those conversations. I just think those conversations are so important. And I really feel that that's what's lacking in Bill's book as I read it, as I'm getting further and further into it. Let's see here. I'm on chapter 6. How many chapters do we have left? Honestly, I might just try to wrap this up. Rewarding incivility and sabotaging education. There are two more chapters, so we'll see. I might just do one chapter next week, but I might end up just doing both with a conclusion and just wrapping up this book because I am so excited to be able to move on to something else, something that I'm a little bit more passionate about. I feel like this book has really helped me in that little nudge or whatever you want to call it that I've needed to grow in those three vital virtues of personal responsibility, self-discipline, perseverance, seeing the study, work, pray. Like, I'm just trying to get stable on my feet as far as getting back to uploading every Sunday is going. And I was like, let's just read a book and we'll do one chapter a week and I will follow through with that and we can do that. So that's what I've been doing. But I'm so excited because I get to talk to you about Shannon Wendt's book, The Way of the Rosary. That just came out. We're going to do the, Family Feast Flourish. So excited about that one too. That one's coming from Sophia. There are a few. I have a couple books that are a little bit more in my purview of day-to-day stuff. And I don't know. So I'm excited to be able to move on to that because this stuff is heavy. This is like politician stuff that is really important, but just not something that, like, right, I would much rather be having the conversation. I'm much more like St. Mother Teresa, where it's like, well, where's the love? Why aren't we being more nurturing? Like, how can we meet people where they are? Because I can't meet everyone where they are. I'm not capable of that. Jesus can. He's available in every parish you can ever visit. Go see him. Like, the Eucharist will bring you into yourself and help you see what it is that you need, and he'll help you find your vocation and your talents and your passions. There's just so much good that can come from all of that. And I just pray for it for our country, that we could just get our eyes back on Jesus instead of our screens. The screens need to be put down. You need to be getting enough sleep. You need to be seeking God and reading the Bible and doing things that just honor him and help you grow into the child of God that he has created you to be. That's all I have to say. I know it just wasn't even enough, and you wish I would keep talking for another hour, but I just don't have it in me. But I love you. Thanks for watching. I look forward to chatting with you next week. Like I said, probably just if you're reading the book along with me, probably just finish the book. I'm probably going to finish the book and wrap up with this so that I can move on to the other stuff, because I really think that there will be a lot of benefit from other things. All right. I can't wait. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.